She laughed the instant she saw him, a bright, polished sound she'd later replay in the silence of her vacant apartment. On the studio lights, she believed she recognized him down to the letter. The man in the crooked tie, the drawl slow and deliberate, the small silver cross against the chest. She didn't yet recognize the kitchen in Zachary, Louisiana, or the prayers at 2 a.m., or how one tale would hush a whole nation. Have you ever been positive about someone, only to find yourself having seen only the cover of their story? This is a story about the heft of symbols we wear, the voices we misjudge, and the moments that make us remember. Truth doesn't need polish. Sit down. Let's start where it began, with a laugh that didn't last. She was laughing before he'd even opened his mouth. Not because he made a joke, not because anything was amusing. She laughed because of who he was, or at least who she assumed he was. The guy sitting across from her wasn't some smooth TV personality. He talked slow with a thick Southern accent. His suit was outdated, not high-end. His tie was imperfectly knotted, and hanging directly on his chest, a little silver cross. To her, he seemed misplaced, like a man who'd stumbled into the wrong building by mistake, a man from another era. So she laughed. But within minutes, that laugh would be gone, replaced by silence, respect, and perhaps a dash of shame. The interview that wasn't what she expected. This was going to be another run-of-the-mill morning news interview. The anchor, Rachel Walsh, let's say, was quick, seasoned, and good at what she did. She'd interviewed everyone from presidents to CEOs, you name them. Quick-witted with her comebacks, always in command. Today's guest, Senator John Neely Kennedy from Louisiana. He'd been making headlines lately, not for scandal, but for his words. See, Kennedy had a habit of using old Southern sayings, the kind your grandma might toss around. It's like trying to baptize a cat. He's as confused as a goat on AstroTurf. I'd rather drink weed killer. Some folks thought it was sweet. Rachel, she loved it, hilariously. So when the cameras came rolling, she was prepared to make this into a comedy show. Senator Kennedy, she said with a smile, you've done it again. People are undecided whether you're a politician or a stand-up comedian. What do you say to those people who believe your speech pattern is out of date? Kennedy merely smiled. Well, ma'am, he replied matter-of-factly, I just call it speaking plain. Rachel laughed. Is that what the cross is for? She nodded at the silver pendant around his neck. Part of the whole Southern preacher act. He stopped. The studio fell very still. She thought she was kidding. She wasn't. Can I tell you a story? He asked, his tone firm. Rachel blinked. Sure. Kennedy leaned forward, hands together. Not angry, not defensive, just authentic. I was 9 years old the first time I saw my mama cry, he started. We were in our little kitchen in Zachary, Louisiana. My daddy just gotten back from the doctor. Didn't say a word, but Mama, she knew. His tone was gentle, but each word found its mark. The crew froze. The control room fell silent. Cancer. The kind that doesn't care how tough you are. The kind that makes little boys grow up fast. Rachel's smile was erased, and now she sat frozen in stillness. We didn't have money, no fancy insurance. Daddy worked 3 days, drove a school bus, fixed fences, cleaned offices at night. He kept going even when it hurt. I'd wake up at 2 a.m. to eat them and hear him groaning on the couch because the pain was so bad he couldn't lie down. Kennedy strode to the cross and touched it softly. Mama, she'd sit beside him every evening, praying, whispering to God like he was sitting in the corner of the room. When Daddy passed away 6 months later, she didn't break. She kept us together, worked doubles, took us to church, fed us supper with a smile, even when her feet were bleeding from standing all day. He gazed directly at Rachel. She wore this cross every single day, said it reminded her she wasn't alone. Rachel's mouth opened, perhaps to interrupt, get things moving, but nothing escaped. Kennedy continued. I wear it now because of her. When I feel like I'm in over my head, which happens more than folks think, I remember what she carried and how she carried it. He stopped. And yeah, I speak funny. I don't apologize for that. It's the same voice I used when I battled to bring down the price of drugs, when I stood with flood victims who lost everything, when I told CEOs to their faces, I don't care how wealthy you are. If you lied, I'll call you out. He relaxed back. I don't wear this cross to make a spectacle of myself. I don't speak like this to entertain. It's me, and I am not going to change that for anyone, not even on national television. Rachel's eyes had gone glossy. She looked away, not because she was being impolite, but because she felt something she hadn't anticipated. Regret. The segment closed quietly. No humor, no sassy sign-off, just a gentle, thank you. When the camera stopped rolling, the crew froze. The control room, abuzz with energy, was silent. Rachel unbuckled her mic slowly, nodded at Kennedy, and watched him exit. Later that night, Rachel sat back in her apartment, replaying the clip. Alone, no audience, no stress. And then she wept. Not only because she was humiliated, though sure a bit, but because she remembered something she hadn't for years. Her grandma's hands, the wee gold cross she once wore, the bedtime prayers softly spoken, the quiet courage of faith, not as show, but as something real. Rachel opened up her jewelry box, dug around, and there it was, that very same little cross. She hadn't worn it in more than a decade. That night, she put it on. The lesson. We sometimes laugh too quickly at what we do not know. We stereotypically judge others by their accents, their attire, their faith. We lose sight of the fact that there is a story behind every humorous quote. There is a history behind every cross. There is a reason behind every person. Kennedy didn't appear on that program to sermonize. He didn't scream or command respect. He simply spoke the truth, in his own words, on his own terms. And while doing that, he sent a message to everyone watching. True strength doesn't always present itself in a well-dressed suit of armor or in slick sound bites. At times it shows up with a wonky tie, speaks slowly, and clutches a tattered cross, not for appearances, but to keep in mind where it's from. So the next time you feel like laughing at someone too soon, wait. You may be gazing upon someone who's carrying more than you'll ever realize, and they just might teach you something you didn't expect. Occasionally, life compels us to decide, to hold on or let go, to forgive or be proud to who we are or who we can be. This tale is a reminder that the strongest moments are not in the heroic acts, but in the empty spaces between words. A pause before saying sorry, an outstretched hand when it is simpler to leave, or the bravery to look at ourselves and others with gentler eyes. We all have our moments that challenge our hearts, but maybe what truly matters is not if we fall, but how we get up, not for ourselves, but for the ones around us. So tonight, when the world winds down, perhaps take a breath and ask, where does my strength come from? And who in my life may need the gift of a second chance?